Mr. Transformers 96 here with another video review. This time I'm going to be talking about a newly shown product, and it is, of course, the Studio Series Devastator. I've made so many videos on this guy. Every time there's a new update, I make a video, and this is going to be one of the last updates, most likely. There'll probably be one more update, to be honest. But here we have an official image of the fully formed Devastator. This is kind of an official image. It's not one on display. There is an event going on currently. I believe it's in Tokyo. It's overseas, if I'm not mistaken, that is supposed to have the Devastator there. At the time of filming this, there's not any images out, though, of it on display. So once we get those images, I'll make another video to talk about specifically how it looks in person. But for now, we have the official image of it, and then we also have the official images of the last two Constructicons that do form him. Now, we've seen the fully formed Devastator before. However, it was in a prototype stage last time we saw it. So the thigh section and the arm were blue with purple details. It looked very strange. There was portions of it that were mistransformed, like the arms were backwards, things like that. So now we have a really good look at how it's going to look. So let's talk about it. I'm incredibly excited. And also, since I made my last update, I've received Mixmaster and Scavenger, so I have them fully. I've also transformed them into the Devastator pieces so that I really, kind of have a better feel of what it's going to look like. This looks great, though. I have one issue with this, and it's really just the way that it's posed. He's very much just standing up, which is incorrect. I mean, Devastator never just kind of stood up. You can obviously pose him like that if you'd like to, but that's not the intention. The pose very much should be him kind of on all fours, essentially, like he does in the movie. So hopefully when they have him on display, he'll be posed properly in that type of position. But as you can see, let's talk about the new stuff. So the kind of torso area, the lower torso / kind of upper thighs are Overload, and I think that it overall looks really good. The chest area looks great. It really combines very nicely. I have trouble seeing where Overload starts and ends, and where Scavenger starts and ends, because they really combine very nicely. Look like they use the exact same color scheme, which really helps it keep a unified look. I'm also surprised as how much of the thighs he contributes. It looks like there's a nice big thigh pieces on both sides. My one issue is that he's bulky up top, and he slims down to this really skinny, like a lower torso area, and then he's got his thighs. So that looks odd, but the reason for that is to allow the articulation of the thighs to be unhindered, because you need to have such a strong, leg kick to be able to pose him on all fours. So I understand that reasoning, and obviously if he's posed properly, crouching down, that will fill in that gap, and it will no longer have that kind of thin thigh look. So he'll be totally fine. So the only thing that looks bad so far is really how it's posed, because this is not how you should be posing Devastator, clearly. As you can see, his right hand being Scavenger, I think looks really good. It forms very nicely to look like fingers. I think that does look excellent. Now, as you can see, the arms there, the Scavenger I wish was a little bigger, because obviously you have two deluxes here that form his left arm, which the left arm does look bigger than the right arm, and maybe that's accurate. Devastator is such a mixed match of pieces, clearly, that it makes sense that one side maybe would be bigger than the other, but I still would have liked it to amp up the size of Scavenger a little bit. I think that would have been necessary, but nonetheless, I think that it does look really nice. And then one piece that comes with Overload is this little extra extension piece for his head to have kind of the I don't know what you'd call it, but it's almost like a drill piece, because obviously he sucks things in and they get grounded up in there. So I think that looks really nice. I like the green effect pieces on it. I think it looks good, and it just helps fill in the head a little bit more, makes it a little bit bulkier. So here is our look at Overload. As you can see, both modes. So in the vehicle mode, you just have that extra piece just kind of sitting up here. It's very much a kind of, parts former when it comes just to that piece, because obviously how can they get it to go up to the top of the head if it starts at the waist? So I don't really have an issue with that. I'm sure there's some like Transformer collectors that maybe would have a big issue with that. For me personally, it doesn't bother me though. I understand the reason for it, and I'd much prefer to have it rather than not. So it's not an issue for me. And then as you can see, Overload looks really cool. Obviously this is our first figure of him ever, which is super neat. And he looks neat. It's interesting giving him 2 legs. Some of the concept arts that have been produced for this character have like multiple legs. However, this is a really neat design. I think it looks very cool. I'm quite happy with it. And overall, it looks like a very solid Transformer with 4 arms. This is one that I'll be interested to see in person when we get some in-person images. But based on how much of Devastator is Overload, because the thighs are definitely him. This little piece that goes over a bit of lawn haul is from him. The bottom section here, and then it looks like this entire chest piece, because I have Devastator built from the top up, and there's not a ton that goes down here. It looks like these pieces also are from him. So the majority of Devastator, I think that the biggest Transformer in Devastator is going to be Overload, because he just looks really big. Now the Scavenger figure was quite large as well, but there looks like there's less of Scavenger, because Scavenger is just this piece. It's just this, while Overload is this, has some pieces that extend up, it's this, it's the thighs, and then has some pieces that extend down. So I think that he's going to be the kind of largest, figure on the figure himself, which is cool. And then moving down, we have Scavenger. Really, I've always wanted a Scavenger figure, and I think the figure looks great. My one issue with it, or my one thing that looks a little off to me, is his right arm. Obviously, you should have this kind of claw piece, but it looks a little bit... I like the fact that they had him transform into a claw. It might have been better if it was actually just sculpted, to be honest, and just hidden on him. But nonetheless, I like the attempt at having, it fully transform into his hand. I think that that's nice. But overall, I think the rest of the figure looks great. Head sculpt looks awesome, and it looks exactly like what we've seen in the movie, so I'm very happy with him. He's one that I was always surprised that we never got from Revenge of the Fallen, so even though it's, 11 years later, I'm still happy to get it, so that's very nice. And then just here's some other images of this. So this is all from a promotional pamphlet, essentially. So that's where we're getting these images. So again, I will make another video once we get some in-person shots of these figures, as well as the Devastator fully formed. But nonetheless, these are some solid promotional images that we have so far. I'm incredibly excited. I am buying 2 of every one of them, and I've been able to hit that standard. Obviously, the only ones I need are Overload and Scavenger, and I'll definitely, as soon as they go on pre-order, I'll be pre-ordering 2 of each. I'm very much looking forward to both of those, and overall, I think that they look great. Now, my one question is, there's been rumors that there is another Constructicon coming out, like just a repainted one, which is essentially Rampage, the left leg, but in a yellow color scheme, and they're calling him like Slipjack, something like that. I can't quite remember. Now that would be the proper one to use, because if I'm not mistaken, in the film, although Rampage was red when he has his fight with Bumblebee, the Rampage, the version of him that actually transforms into Devastator, is yellow. So I would definitely like to get a yellow version just to make this more accurate. It's a shame because I've already bought 2 of the red Rampages, but to make it accurate, I would buy a 3rd one, to be honest. But nonetheless, I'm incredibly excited for this piece. This is going to be super cool. It's taken, like almost, by the time we end up finishing it, it'll probably be like 2 years from when it was first shown to when we finally get the last product. But having it, where you get a figure every now and then, or 2 figures every now and then, does help hold you over, essentially. So nonetheless, I'm incredibly excited. I can't wait for this thing to come out, and yeah. And again, I'll be making another update as soon as we get an in-person image of it. So let me know what you guys think of both of the new figures, being Scavenger, as well as, not Scavenger, excuse me, Scrapper. Have I been saying Scavenger in this whole thing? If I have, I do apologize. His name is Scrapper. And then as well as Overload. And then in total, what you think of the kind of final product for the Devastator in fully combined mode. Let me know what you guys think, and thanks so much for watching.